Hey Tenno, welcome to my channel. In this video, I'll break down operator amps, explain its parts, and later in the video, discuss some of the best amps you should be using. If you haven't completed the quest to War Within and unlock operators, turn back now. Amps can be complex with its own terminology, so it is best if you watch the video from the beginning. But as usual, there are timestamps down below. So what are amps? Amps are weapons used by operators to channel void energy. There are two types of amps, pre-built and modular. The two pre-built amps are Moat and Sirocco. Both of them are obtained after the quests The War Within and the New War respectively. Moat is incredibly weak, so I would not recommend using it. Sirocco is a significant upgrade over it, and it can deal with your first Eidolon. See the link for my guide to Eidolons. Modular amps are built from three components. These components are the prism, scaffold and brace. These parts are interchangeable and can be mixed and matched, so there are up to 343 variations of amps that can be built from the different components. We'll talk about components and builds of amps later in this video. What are amps used for? There are three activities where amps are mainly used. General use in missions with regular enemies such as Void Cascade and using the operator to achieve last gasp from the Unairu school. Amps are also used for hunting Eidolons. Lastly, amps are used for Void Angels in missions on Zariman. Now, how do we build amps? The blueprints can be obtained from the quills on Cetus or Vox Solaris on Fortuna. You need to rank up quills or Vox Solaris to unlock the blueprint. Then purchase the blueprint with standing. Build a prism, a scaffold and a brace in your foundry. And return to Onkko on Cetus or Little Duck on Fortuna. They can assemble an amp. You will need to level up the assembled amp to rank 30 and return to Onkko or Little Duck again to gild the amp. Once gilded, you can name your amp. The amp can have an arcane installed and will start providing mastery points. If you want a guide for farming the resources to build an amp, like and subscribe because I'm going to be producing that video soon. What does each component mean? These three components determine how your amp operates. Prism determines what is the primary fire of your amp. Scaffold determines what is the secondary fire of your amp. And brace determines what bonus your amp has. A simple way to remember is Prism, P for primary, Scaffold, S for secondary, and Brace, B for bonus. Now when people talk amps, they'll start shouting numbers at you. 777, 123, 526, 747, 7x7. What does that even mean? This arrangement of numbers is arranged in order based on Prism, Scaffold and Brace. So a 777 amp is from Prism 7, Scaffold 7 and Brace 7. Let me put a chart up. The series of numbers are corresponding to when the part is unlocked from their respective faction. Series 1 meaning Raplak Prism, Pencha Scaffold and Klamora Brace are all unlocked at rank 1 with the quills, whereas Series 4 Rahn Prism, Phahd Scaffold and Antapsha Brace are unlocked at rank 4 with the quills. Series 5 the Cantic Prism, Xrd Scaffold and Sword Brace is unlocked at rank 2 with the Vox Solaris, and Series 7 unlocked at rank 4 with Vox Solaris. Remember, Series 1 to 4 are from Cetus and Series 5 to 4 are from Fortuna. So when someone says a 777 amp, they mean Klamora, Propa and Cetus. Another example of 261 is Shwaak, Dissic and Klamora. When X is used in the designation of the amp, that means that part is interchangeable. So for example, 7x7 means any scaffold can be used. So we decoded the amp code. Time to talk about the best parts for each component. I'll start with the easiest component, brace. There are two braces that would improve your damage, which are 3 Lorien and 7 Certus. Lorien gives a modest boost to status and crit chance of 12% each, while Certus gives a higher crit chance of 20%. Certus has the edge here in terms of damage, but if you only have quills ranked, Lorien is the best brace you can get. Now in terms of prisms and scaffold, the best option is less clear cut. Each of the 7 components are really different, so there is some personal preference depending on which parts you want to use. Let's go through the prisms first. First off is Raplak. Raplak is like a sniper rifle. It fires a single semi-auto shot across a long distance. It has one of the longest distances, one of the highest crit chance and crit multiplier among the primaries. Raplak is really effective against Eidolons since you can snipe from a distance. Raplak is one of the better prisms for Eidolons, Void Angels and general use. The obvious drawbacks: if you have bad aim, you're not going to hit anything. Shwaak is the shotgun of amps. It fires a slug-like projectile that has punch through. The projectile has a larger area of effect than Raplak's and can hit multiple enemies in a line. This is more comfortable to use against large groups of enemies. Shwaak is definitely a good prism too. It has shorter range than Raplak, with less damage dealt the further the target is away. Granmu is a burst fire grenade launcher. It fires 3 burst fire grenades that deals AoE damage. As you expect from a grenade launcher, it is really good with hordes of enemies. The downside to it is that the explosives can stealth stagger your operator. Rahn is a fully automatic amp. It fires beams of void energy rapidly. It has decent crit chance of 30%, but it has a high rate of fire and also covers a long range. It is less punishing to use compared to Raplak if you have a bad aim. Moving to Little Duck's amps, Cantic is going to be compared a lot to Raplak. It has similar stats to Raplak, except it fires 3 burst fire beams. It has good crit chance, second only to Raplak and Klamora. Its damage for the total of 3 beams is similar to Raplak, so it does come down to personal preference for this or Raplak, burst fire or single shot. Like Raplak, it's good for Eidolons. Personal preference: if you don't like burst fire, then this won't be for you. Lega is a void flamethrower and is as good as it sounds. It has low crit chance, but the highest status chance of all the prisms. It can deal AoE damage, does not consume too much energy, and can cover a good range. It is good for general content, but its high status chance is not great for Eidolons. The flamethrower also has a shorter range compared to the previous options. Klamora is also like a flamethrower, except with an even wider and shorter beam. This is great for damaging all nearby enemies with absolutely no need to aim. It has the highest crit chance and one of the highest crit multipliers for all the prisms. It's really useful for large groups close up, bombs and Eidolons. It has a really short range, shorter than Lega. Personal preference does play a part into which prism you want in your amp. Raplak and Klamora are meta for Eidolons, while Shwaak, Cantic and Lega are also good for general use amps. In terms of Raplak versus Klamora, there is no real difference. Raplak has a marginally higher crit chance, but personal preference definitely plays a part. Klamora does not require aim and deletes anything in front of it, while you can snipe at a distance with Raplak. Now let's move on to the scaffolds. Pencha fires a large laser after charging for a while. The laser has decent punch through and can hit several enemies in a line. You can cancel the charge, but there is no way to speed the charge up. It has decent damage and crit. It does take some time to get used to the charge. Not too bad, but the wait time for the charge can be a deal breaker. Shraksun is a short range grenade launcher. It fires a projectile that can also cause AoE damage to enemies. It has good crit chance and can be great for hordes, but also to hit multiple parts of the Eidolon. Shraksun is a good scaffold. Its weakness, like all explosives, can cause self-stagger, and its short range can make the self-stagger more frequent. Klebrik is a weird one. It has a homing laser that does continuous damage. The beam itself can bend and angle itself towards the target. The biggest downside to this amp is the damage. For a single target weapon, Klebrik does tiny amounts of damage and would struggle with worms or regular enemies. Phahd is very fun to use. It shoots out a disc that can home into nearby enemies and bounce towards multiple targets, up to 4 enemies and bounce up to 10 times. Phahd has high crit chance and multiplier and can deal lots of damage. The weakest part of Phahd is that the projectile is automatically homing and find it difficult to keep bouncing towards the Eidolon. It's good at clearing out large groups of enemies or keep bouncing on a tough enemy, causing it to be open to finishers. But because of the inconsistency with Eidolons, it is very weak against that. Exarch is an automatic grenade launcher that fires small explosives until you run out of energy, and that makes it very annoying to use. It drains all your energy, and the damage it gives is not substantial. The explosive can cause self-stagger, and the weapon essentially keeps firing until it's done. Now, if you have an arcane, eternal logistic, it can help with your ammo and allow Exarch to keep firing non-stop, but aside from being a meme build, that doesn't really help with the lack of damage it provides. Dissic is a massive cluster explosion. The last few explosive components we discussed tend to be small, but Dissic's AoE is huge. It explodes and splits into small explosives, all dealing big damage. Again, the explosives cause stagger, but Dissic also launches in an arc, needing you to angle it right for it to land properly. It also uses a lot of energy per attack. Propa, this is the meta for Eidolon shield popping. It is timed to explode, or when it touches an object, it explodes too. It has high crit chance and damage, and one or two of these projectiles can pop an Eidolon's shield. The projectile can be janky when used on regular enemies, either exploding early or not exploding at the right target. It also causes self-stagger when it explodes. Propa is the best for Eidolons, not too great at everything else. So we talked about the individual parts. Here are some recommendations of configurations for amps. Keep in mind, there are 343 combinations, so I'll recommend the best configuration for the different uses of amps, in my opinion. Starting off with 111, the Raplak Pencha Klebrik. This is one of the earliest modular amps you can get, since all the parts are obtained from rank 1 quills. 111's primary and secondary fire are too similar, straight long range attacks, with the secondary just having more punch through, requiring a charge. It used to be recommended since it was a major upgrade from mode, but since the new war update, I don't find it too much better than Sirocco. Aside from the way they reload, with reloading Sirocco or waiting for the energy to regenerate with 111, they are similar. Their damage is similar, and their semi-auto single target firing style is similar too. In its current form, I wouldn't recommend the 111 configuration. The Sirocco can be obtained from a quest, and you don't need to spend standing and resources into building the amp. And you can use Sirocco to hunt your first few Terror lists with no trouble. Check out my beginner's guide to Eidolons in the link above. Now if you haven't done the new war and want something stronger than the mode amp, 111 is the easiest amp to get. 123. Raplak, Shraksun and Rahn. This amp has a long range sniper in primary, AoE grenade in alternate fire, and an amp that increases crit and status chance. Rahn gives the best crit chance of all the Cetus braces. Shraksun has AoE that can damage multiple parts of the Eidolon, but also help with clearing bombs. Raplak, as usual, is a solid prism for high crit and long range fire. In my opinion, this is the best config for Eidolon hunting if you only have quills unlocked. Alternatively, if you are not a fan of Raplak's sniper style, you can use Shwaak as a prism for 223 for the shotgun style as a primary. It equally does well against Eidolons. 243 is up next. Shwaak, Phahd and Rahn. Again, Rahn as a brace, Shwaak shotgun as primary and bouncing this Phahd as an alternate. This is an all-round good amp for general use and Void Cascade. Phahd discs are good for clearing rooms, and the shotgun is great to mop up those left after Phahd. If you only have Cetus rank, this is the best general use amp in my opinion. Phahd doesn't do well with Eidolons, so 243 isn't great for hunting. 665. Lega, Dissic and Suo may seem like an odd choice. When I was breaking down each component, I didn't pay too much attention to these parts. I'll say this isn't a particularly meta config. The goal of this is more for fun really. Dissic has a large explosive radius and Suo gives extra energy, so you can launch a barrage of bombs to large groups of enemies to quickly clear them and finish the rest with a flamethrower. Now this is more of a fun choice, a little outside the meta, and I wouldn't recommend a build like this for your first amp, but it's certainly worth a try later on. 747. Klamora, Phahd and Cetus. Cetus is the meta for most builds, and the reason is due to its crit chance. More crit, more damage. Klamora's short range will delete any nearby enemies, and can still damage Void Angels when they're in their circle. Phahd is used for enemies further away, both boosted with Cetus crit chance. This is easily the meta and best option for general play and use. It does well in Void Cascade, Void Angels, and Phahd clears rooms for Unairus at last gasp. As said before, Phahd is bad against Eidolons, so this build is not recommended for that. The difficulty with this amp is that it needs both Quills and Vox Solaris. Alternatively, you can replace Klamora with Raplak for a 147. For those who do not like to stand too close to the action with the operator, Raplak gives a long distance sniper to clear the survivors of the Phahd disc. Both 147 and 747 are great for general use. 777. Klamora, Propa, Cetus. The Eidolon meta amp. Cetus gives the crit chance, Klamora clears the bombs, Propa, when timed well and with a Vault shield, can deplete an Eidolon shield without Murderized Void Strike. 777 is the best amp for Eidolon hunts, hands down. Great damage, good coverage and easy to use, but it suffers with general use. Propa is super janky with regular enemies, exploding on contact with literally anything, and staggering your operator. Klamora is great but has limited range, so with a 777, your primary and alternate fire are both short range, making long distance engagements difficult. Alternatively, you can replace Klamora with Raplak or Cantic for a 177 or a 577 instead, depending on your playstyle. Raplak gives a sniper style weapon, Cantic fires a 3 burst fire. Both provide a long range option for engaging Eidolons at a distance. Again, all 3 options are great for Eidolons, but in general not effective for general use. So there you have it. There are literally hundreds of amps that can be built, so let me know in the comments below what amp you like running. I hope you enjoy watching this video. Share this video to anyone you think might enjoy it. Like and subscribe for more Warframe guides like this. Bye.